Hi everyone! Today, we're tackling a common and often confusing Python error, attribute error. Super object has no attribute underscore underscore init underscore underscore. This message can pop up when you're working with inheritance, and it usually points to a simple, yet overlooked, detail in your code. Don't worry, we'll break it down, understand why it happens, and most importantly, how to fix it quickly. First, let's understand the key players. The super function is a powerful tool in Python. It allows a child class to call methods from its parent class. This is incredibly useful for extending functionality without rewriting everything. For example, if your child class wants to use some setup from its parent class, super is how it does it. The underscore underscore init underscore underscore method, on the other hand, is special. It's often called the constructor. It's automatically invoked when you create a new object from a class, and its job is to initialize the object's attributes, setting up its initial state. So, why would super complain about not finding underscore underscore init underscore underscore? The most frequent and almost always the reason for this specific error is a missing self parameter in your child class's underscore underscore init underscore underscore method definition. When you define a method in a Python class, if it's an instance method, it must take self as its first argument. Self refers to the instance of the object itself. If you forget self, Python doesn't recognize it as a proper instance method. Instead, it might treat it like a static method, which doesn't belong to any specific object instance and therefore doesn't take self. When super tries to call the parents underscore underscore init underscore underscore, it expects to call an instance method, one that takes self to operate on the current object. If your underscore underscore init underscore underscore method in the child class is missing self, super effectively looks for an underscore underscore init underscore underscore that doesn't exist in the way it expects, leading to the attribute error. It's essentially saying, I'm a super object, and I don't have an underscore underscore init underscore underscore attribute that I can just call directly without an instance context. Let's look at a quick example of what causes this. Imagine you have a parent class with an underscore underscore init underscore underscore method. Then you create a child class that inherits from parent. If you write your child's underscore underscore init underscore underscore like this, class child, parent def underscore underscore init underscore underscore, name, age super, dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore, name, this is incorrect. Notice how self is missing as the first argument in underscore underscore init underscore underscore? Python will interpret name as self here, and then it gets confused when you try to pass name again to super, dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore. The fix is straightforward and crucial. You must include self as the first argument in your child class's underscore underscore init underscore underscore method signature. The correct way to write it would be class child, parent def underscore underscore init underscore underscore, self, name, age super, dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore, name. By adding self, you correctly define underscore underscore init underscore underscore as an instance method. Python 3's super is smart. When you call super, dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore, name, it implicitly handles passing the correct self to the parent's underscore underscore init underscore underscore method. So, remember, the golden rule is always to have self as the very first parameter in your underscore underscore init underscore underscore method definition for instance methods within your class. Another less common scenario for this error might be if the parent class itself genuinely doesn't have an underscore underscore init underscore underscore method, but this is less likely to cause this specific error because object, the base of all classes, does have one. For our error, the missing self in the child's underscore underscore init underscore underscore is almost always the culprit. So, if you encounter attribute error, super object has no attribute underscore underscore init underscore underscore, take a deep breath and check your child class's underscore underscore init underscore underscore method signature. Make sure self is there as the first parameter. It's a small detail, but it makes all the difference in how Python handles method calls and inheritance. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this explanation helped you understand and fix this common Python error. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your coding friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more Python tips and tricks. Your support helps me create more content like this. See you in the next video.